We have been working for about the last 6 months on a new police vehicle design. We've worked with several different departments, and we've also had input recently from the public. We rolled the pictures out yesterday through social media. We've had over 100,000 touches on our release through social media. We're getting an overwhelming positive response, but let me tell you a little bit about why we decided to look into this issue and what led us to our current design. Essentially, for the past 8 to 10 years, we've had the black and white patrol cars and the current decal scheme that we have on the vehicles, and we've got one of those cars parked out front right now. We've got 2 cars with the new design and one of our cars with our current design parked out by the police memorial right now. So if afterwards you want to come down and take some shots of it, we'd love to have you do that. But at any rate, one of the things that we wanted to try and do was have a more contemporary design, but we also wanted to try and save some money. And in addition to that, our current design is somewhat complex, and over time the decals begin to flake off, and we wanted to create a more simple design that again would kind of stand the test of time and hold up on the vehicles, but also would be a cost savings. So when we initially started to look at colors of police vehicles and what we might want to do with that, we also had to look at what vehicles are currently on the market, what vehicles might we be buying, and we kind of had to look at changes that might happen in the future that we currently can't anticipate. And what I mean by that is, are we going to buy Fords? Are we going to buy Dodges? Are we going to buy Chevys? What colors do they offer? How do those colors integrate? Because currently we have Fords and we have Chevys and we have Dodges. So if we buy a blue vehicle, will those blues match up? Will we buy a gray vehicle? Will they match up? Is that an important design consideration? In addition to that, will the decals fit on the different vehicles? If we have a decal scheme that fits on a Dodge Charger, will it fit on a Chevy Tahoe? Will it fit on a Chevrolet Impala? So we had to look at, or a Ford Taurus. So we had to look at, we wanted to create a design that would be able to fit on a variety of vehicles. So how we ultimately ended up with the black vehicles that we're going to go with is, again, it's going to save us money, and black matches the black of all the different manufacturers. Now, so white would also, but we began to look at what the sheriff's office is using. They have a dark blue vehicle, and then we've looked at vehicles from around the country. We looked at decal schemes and colors from around the country. We laid all those out. We established surveys, got feedback and input, and we also worked with our central maintenance facility, which does puts a lot of the work into getting the vehicles ready for us for the street, and we wanted their input as well. Ultimately, we went with the black vehicles, and then as you'll see, the design is a little more simple than our current design, but again, the reason behind that was cost savings, and then also a decal scheme that would stand the test of time and would still look good on the vehicles for years to come. Now, let me mention to you that we currently have about 30 vehicles with the old black and white design or the current black and white design, and it'll take a time for us to roll those cars out with the current design and decals. We have a few of the black vehicles that will have the new design, and those will come out here real shortly, but it will be a very limited number. And then we'll have to make purchases of new vehicles, and then the new decal scheme will be integrated into our current scheme, and it'll probably take a couple of years for us to fully migrate over. We don't want to repaint the cars, and we don't want to put decals on all the cars that we currently have, because that would just cost a lot of money, and we don't want to do that. But we want to share with the community what the 2 designs are, so we have both vehicles downstairs to look at. And that pretty much sums it up. Does anybody have any questions?
Basically, you're just transitioning the new design in, and as the old cars get phased out or retired, they're replaced by the new vehicle and new decal design and paint scheme and that sort of thing, right?
Exactly right, yep.
Captain, how will you decide where these vehicles go?
Essentially what we do is when a car miles out, when it gets a certain number of miles on it or it's no longer functioning vehicle, then we bring it back in and we'll sell it, and then we'll put a new vehicle in. So it just depends. We try and rotate our fleet as far as what cars get more mileage on certain areas of town or certain assignments, and so we try and even out the mileage on vehicles, but some just end up getting more miles. So when it gets more miles, then it rotates out of our fleet and we get a new car.
When they were sort of put out yesterday, a lot of positive feedback, but there's also others that I saw were sort of concerned about the all black, maybe it looks a little military style, you know what I mean? You know those concerns. It's hard to please everybody when you do something like that. Can you address maybe what they were saying?
Sure, and you know, we wanted something that looked sharp, that looked good, and we kind of, when we started with the assignment, in very simple terms, we thought less is more. And you'll see that when you see the new cars, but that was because of cost savings. But when you see the vehicles, and you may not be able to recognize this in the daylight, but all the decals on it are reflective. So they'll shine when lights are on them, and they'll stand out. They're not...
It's not a stealth vehicle?
It's not a stealth vehicle. The other thing that we're doing, in addition to that, to kind of make it more easily for people to identify the vehicles, is we're going to go away from what we call slick tops, which is no light bars on top of the cars. We're bringing all those vehicles in, and it'll take us, I'm going to guesstimate here, a month or two, but we're going to bring in all the vehicles that don't have a light bar on the top, and we're going to put light bars on them. So all marked patrol cars are going to have a light bar on the top of them, instead of having the slick top where the lights sometimes are behind the windshield. We're going to go away from that. So that'll help the public identify our cars as well.
Because there's confusion sometimes.
Sure.
Folks never know. They had the issue with the motorcycles, and I know the county had to do that side just because they started utilizing those again. And folks get afraid that there's, imposters. That's the word I was coming up with.
Right. And we want our cars to be very identifiable. The other thing that we did is, in the past, our patrol cars have obviously all look the same. They have different tag numbers on them, but in the back window was a number that identified that vehicle, not only for the public. If they see an officer that is driving recklessly and they want to make a complaint, they had the one number, either you have the tag or the single number is in the back window. We put numbers on the sides of the cars and the back of the car now to help with identification of the vehicles. So the public will be able to see this car is 142 or 341. It's on both sides of the car now, which is we've never done in the past, and it's also on the back of the vehicle. So the public will be able to identify a particular patrol car more easily now.
You mentioned the county's vehicles. Is there any concern that maybe these might be too close to the counties? If I haven't,
No, I don't think so. The Sheriff's Department has large lettering that says Sheriff, and when you see our cars, you're going to see that we have large lettering that says Police. It says City of Wichita. They have the Sheriff's badge, which is more of the star badge, and ours is more of the heart-shaped badge, and we have that on the patrol car as well. So I think they'll be able to recognize the differences. Any other questions?
At what mileage do they age out your vehicles?
Typically between 100 and 150,000 miles. Some cars last longer than other cars, and sometimes we'll go beyond that if the vehicle has been cared for. And some cars, when we wreck a car, sometimes we piece a car together, and it just doesn't have the life that some other cars do. But we try and get the most out of them. And then that's the other thing that comes with this as well that I failed to mention, is that when we sell the cars, we like to repaint them so that they're not the black and white scheme, so the public doesn't get confused by that. There's another cost savings because now we don't have to repaint them. So that's another consideration. We don't have to paint them on the front end. We don't have to paint them on the back end, and that saves us money as well.
How many vehicles are we talking here?
I think our fleet, let me check on this for you, but I think our fleet is around 200 patrol cars. But let me check that number for you.
And how many vehicles do you currently have, the new ones, right now?
Right now, we have the 2 that are out front, and
Okay.
that's it. We have 9 Chargers that we're going to roll out, and those all have to have the new scheme. But now that we've made the decision, the chief is happy with it, the city manager is happy with it, we're going to go ahead and get those vehicles ready. And then again, as vehicles mile out, we'll rotate those in. We have 3 Dodge trucks, and one of which is parked out front. And we changed over from a van that we used to have, where we could transport large items, our bicycles, things like that. We changed from the vans that we used to have, and we're going to have trucks now. So you'll see the quad cab trucks, but we'll only have 3 of those. We should be able to get those out pretty quickly. We've been driving some very old vehicles in anticipation of this day. So we've got some cars that are ready to be moved out of the fleet, and we'll be able to get those out pretty quick, I'd say in the next week or 2. We have actually the one out front is probably going to go out today.